A very good morning all the students. Welcome back to the class after your summer break. I hope you have enjoyed your holidays thoroughly. So it's time to move back to the studies. Since we were doing chapter number 2 of our chemistry portion, that is matter around us pure, and in that chapter we have completed quite a few topics. So today we're going to cover the topic called as chromatography. Chromatography is a technique of separating two or more dissolved solids which are present in a solution in a very small quantity. So there are many types of chromatography, but the simplest form of the chromatography is the paper chromatography. So in this lecture today we're going to study about the paper chromatography, and by using paper chromatography we can separate two or more different substances which are present in the same solution. For example, if we want to separate different color pigments present in a single dye, then we have to perform this process. Now, you would think that we can also separate by a process called evaporation. Yes, we can do, but through the evaporation, we can only separate the dye from the liquid. So, we can separate solvent and solute separately. But what if we want to separate the different pigments of solute present in the liquid? So if we're gonna take a black color, like a simple black color is, you think that a black color is a mixture of a black color. No, but black color is made up of several different colors. So in the black color there are different colored dyes present, and how we will see by the experiment which we're going to perform today in this lecture. So the principle behind this chromatography technique is, although there are two or more substances which are soluble in the water, but they have different solubilities. Because if in a black color there are blue, there is green and a red color present, so all those three colors won't have same solubility. So the pigments which will have more solubility, they will dissolve with the water, and the colors which have less solubility will take some time to get dissolved in the water. If the solute is soluble in the water, that does not mean that all the pigments of the solute are soluble at the same rate. So when the paper which we're going to take for the chromatography is wet, along with that the dye also dissolve in the water and it start moving up with the water. So the different colors dye have different solubility, so they will dissolve at different speed and they will travel at different level with the water. Like I'm going to explain you with the help of your NCERT book. So in your book it's clearly mentioned that here activity 2.7. so in this activity it's clearly visible that we have to take a strip of a chromatography paper or a filter paper. So it would be a thin strip of filter paper or a chromatography paper, and from the bottom, from the edge of the strip, we're gonna mark a 3 centimeter line. Like we will measure from here distance to this distance, it should be 3 centimeter, and from the edge to 3 centimeter we're gonna mark a line with the help of a pencil, and on the center of this we're gonna put a drop of a sample. Like we're gonna put a drop of our ink. Like if say we take a black color ink, so we're gonna put this black color ink on a strip of paper here, and after that this strip of paper will be dipped into the jar which have a little amount of water. So the level of water you can see is very less. So this is a glass jar so that we can see what happens, and the water is very less, and we have to dip the strip in the water so that only the edges are dipped in the water. Since we have already taken 3 centimeter distance, so 1 centimeter can be dipped in the water and still the mark will be outside the water. Here you have to remember that you will just keep the mark or the dot of the sketch ink or any kind of ink away from the water. That means the mark or the spot should not dip in the water. Only the edges of the paper should be dipped into the water. So you have to be very careful while doing this. After you will dip this in water, you have to have a holder or any glass rod or even a pencil so that you can fix the strip still so that the strip does not fall into the water, and then you have to wait for a while. So you can also use paper clips here. Paper clips are used, and this is the filter strip and a spot of ink. After this, what will happen? The water will rise up. The water will rise up due to the capillary actions. As the water moves up, the paper strip takes along the dyes present in the ink. The dye which is more soluble in the water first rises up and faster, and produces a colored spot on the paper at a higher position. So which are highly soluble will have a higher mark on the paper, and which are less soluble will be in the bottom area. So if you see a blue color here on the top, that means the blue color is the highly soluble, and if you will see a reddish or a brownish color in the middle, that means they are less soluble or they are slow soluble in the water. So the less soluble dyes dissolves a little later and rises slower. They will rise slowly and form a colored spot at the lower height. So the dyes pigments which will be at a very high solubility rate will rise up faster, and they will on the top, and the colors which will dissolve at a lower pace will be at the lower height. In this way, all the dyes present in the black ink or any other ink get separated by this method, and they will form or separate different color spots or bands. So this chromatography technique is very useful, and when the water reaches up or near the top or the end of the filter paper strip, like if the water reaches up here like here, so this strip is removed from the water and it's dried. That means the we can see the paper has a separate color spot when it's dried up, and this paper, actually this strip, after we get the different color bands or different color spot into it, is called as chromatogram. So you have also to remember the word as chromatogram. Now chromatography is a technique, and it's a technique to separate two or more dissolved solids which are present in a solution in a very small quantity. And chromatogram, I must write here, and chromatogram is that paper which separates a different spot. So chromatogram is the paper in which there are different color spot. Chromatogram. Okay, so chromatogram is the paper with it separates the color spot. Okay. Now, chromatography is very important tool in the chemical analysis. Like it is used to separate a small amount of dissolved substances. Here are some applications. So you can also write along with me while I speak. So chromatography is very important because it separates small amount of dissolved substances, and there are some more applications. Like chromatography is used to separate solutions of colored pigments from dyes. Then chromatography is used in forensic sciences to detect and identify the trace amounts of substances like poison. Sometimes poison is present in the stomach or bladder. So by this technique we can also find out any kind of poisons or trace amount of any other substances present in the body. And then chromatography is also used to separate small amount of products of chemical reactions. So it is a very useful process. Now I'm going to show you an experiment practically. If we'll take filter paper, like I have taken small strips of this tissue paper. Since I don't have filter paper, so I am using this tissue paper. Okay, so I was drawing the strip with the pencil, but I was unable to draw because these are the tissue papers, because I don't have filter paper, but I wanted to show you the experiment. So if you can get, you can also use filter paper for this, and we use well chromatography paper for this because the experiment which we are doing is the chromatography. So I'm gonna use some sketch pens for this. So we will be using a black sketch pen, and a green sketch pen. Okay, so 2 sketch pens. So I'm gonna use 2 filter strips. two tissue paper actually separately. So in the center I'm gonna mark a dot with the sketch pen, so this will start spreading. Alright, and here I'm gonna mark this green color in the center. Okay, so after a while we have to take, these are the marks, so then we'll take a jar. Okay, so we'll take a jar and into this we will use a pencil. We will use a pencil like this. We'll use a pencil, and with the help of pencil we're gonna place these filter paper strips so that they should not fall in the water, but the edges of the filter paper strips like this will be in the water. So only the edges of these are dipped in the water, so we can see that the ink is rising up. It's rising up, and when the ink rises up we see a different color trail. We can see a reddish color here because it was a black color. We have to keep it undisturbed. So we see a green color also. That means this black color also had some greenish color into it. It's easily visible. Okay, so this shows the experiment that this black color, I have used a black sketch pen in front of you, and this black color is turning into the greenish color. We can also see a green color trail. I haven't used the green color strip yet. We will use it after a while. This is I'm just having this strip. I haven't used it yet. So we can see a greenish color also along with this. Okay, so it's gonna take some time, and we also see a reddish color now here. I hope you can see a red color trail also in this. So these are the different colors which are present in a black color ink. Okay, so while this is going on, we're gonna use another strip of the paper in which we have used a green color. So I'm gonna put this also in the water, and now this will also start rising so that we can see both the strips together, what happens when they are dipped in the water. So this green color is also now dissolving in the water. So because the tissue paper is getting wet and the water is rising up due to the capillary action of the motion of the water, so we can see this green color is so quickly spreading up since it's a tissue paper. In filter paper you will see it will take some time. So now the colors are spreading and we can see different color pigment in the green color. Here I can easily see a blue color also, but it's not visible on the phone, in the camera actually. So the colors are not quite visible, but once it is done, I'm going to show you that this green color is a mixture of green and blue. Okay, now the blue color here on the edge are here on the above are clearly visible that it is a mixture of a blue and green color. So this simple green color was a mixture of blue and green color. So it will take some time to rise up so that we can clearly see and we can compare both the strips of the paper, so we can see which colors are present in which. So we have to take some time for this. So now we're going to take out the strip slowly and we'll see that this. Okay, now so we can clearly see that a black dot, a black ink which we used is having red, blue and a greenish color and a purplish color in it. That means it is having many different colors which were forming black colors. So a simple black color ink was not only black color, but it had some different color pigments. So I can see a tinge of yellow also here, which I think you cannot see. So I think blue is clearly visible, and green is also visible, and red is also visible, and a brownish tinge also. So because we know that the black color is made up of 7 colors, so almost all the 7 colors are not properly visible, but still we can see here the colors. That means they show that this black color, so that this black color, I used this black color. It is a mixture of all these colors. So this is a chromatography technique, and the green one is also done. So we're gonna see it's almost faded. So here green color has a blue color in it. Okay, so the colors will be more visible once it dries up, but still the blue and red and a yellowish tinge is visible. If I'll show you, here was the mark where I put a black mark on the strip, and the color came out very nice. Like from the black color, we can't find any black color here. This is a spot which I marked in front of you. So here is a blue color. That means that black color, simple black color, had a blue color hidden in it, and here is the green color, and I can see a yellow color over here which is not clearly visible on the camera, and a red color here, and a tinge of this is a trail. So here I can see green, blue, and a little pinkish color. So where this is mixing, it's an orange color band also, which I can see. You can also perform this simple experiment at your home. You just have to take a filter paper, and if you don't have filter paper, you can also use a tissue paper like me, and just a black sketch pen, black, blue, or green, any color of sketch pen, and you can see a different trail. So I hope you can see the red color in it, blue, black, yellow, all the colors in it. That means that black color pigment was having all these color inside it, which are visible to us by the help of chromatography techniques. So by this technique we can separate the different colors of pigment present in a dye, and it is also used in the detection of drugs from the blood, and we can also identify the different pigments from the natural colors, and we can also use these in the forensic sciences to check out that whether there is a presence of any poison in the blood. So it's a very important technique. So after chromatography, we're going to study about crystallization. Crystallization is the process of cooling a hot, concentrated solution of a substance to obtain crystals is called crystallization. Now, you would have seen whenever your mother cooks any sweet for you, for that sometimes they make sugar syrup. So when the sugar syrup is prepared, if the sugar syrup is reduced to an extent that it becomes very thick, so after a while when it is kept to cool down at room temperature, you must have noticed that there are some crystals of sugar in it. So that is the simple way to explain you about the crystallization. Also, you would have seen about the salt. So salt is obtained from the sea water. Now sea water is stored in a sea pan or a big field where the salt or the sea water dries up by the help of evaporation, and we get the crystals of salt. So any kind of a substance which is obtained by heating and then by concentrating this solution to obtain a crystal is called as crystallization. Now this is done to purify the crystals, like if we have a crystals of copper sulfate. Copper sulfate is a salt which is of blue color. I will show you a little picture of a copper sulfate since I have a book here. So this kind of a pieces are of copper sulfate, as you can see here. So this is a china dish. A china dish is a bowl made up of bone china, not a very fine bone china, but it is not glass, not metal. It is bone china, so we call it china dish, and we use it a lot to heat up while performing experiments, because this does not mix with our salts, since we cannot take metals because some salts reacts with metal. So we take this china dish. Into it we have kept some copper sulfate crystals. Now this is the setup. In the experiment we have to take a Bunsen burner and a tripod stand. You can see a stand. On the top of it you can see a wire gauge. This is a wire rack on which we have to keep a beaker. I hope you can see a beaker. So this is a beaker present, and on the top of the beaker we have kept these china dish. Into it we have this copper sulfate. Now this is not the process. We have to perform a little more steps into this. Like what happens, we have to take the crystals of copper sulfate. I'll show you how. So like we have to take a china dish. Into the china dish we have to keep some crystals of copper sulfate here, and we will dissolve it with a little amount of water. After it will dissolve in the water, so we will not take too much amount of water, but we will take just a little amount of water. We will take like 10 grams of copper sulfate. CuSO4 is copper sulfate, and in this 10 grams of water we will dissolve this with a little amount of water. After the water will be dissolved, so it will be just a so in this, when the water will dissolve the copper sulfate, we will get a blue color of a liquid. It will be blue colored. Now after this we will filter this in a filter paper. We will keep a funnel and then we will filter this liquid into this, so that all the impurities which are present, it will be in the funnel and the filter paper, and we will get a clear crystal copper sulfate. Now after this we will keep this clean filtered copper sulfate solution into a china dish, and then we will keep it in a Bunsen burner, and we will keep a beaker here. It will be a double bath, and here will be our crystals of copper sulfate. So once the first step is, we will take about 10 grams of impure copper sulfate and we will dissolve it in minimum amount of water in a china dish to make a copper sulfate solution. Now this is a copper sulfate solution. After this we will filter the component so that all the impurities which are dissolved in those crystals will be separated out. Now after this we will heat the copper sulfate solution, and on heating we have to keep it in a water bath. Like here it is shown, we will keep it in a water bath. Okay, so we will allow it to heat in the water bath, so that the water which is present in this solution should evaporate, and we have to get a saturated solution. So saturated, I hope you remember, when the solution is not able to dissolve any more solute into it, is called as saturated solution. So we have to evaporate the solution, and we can check it by dipping a glass rod into it. It's a broad bit of a glass which is used in the laboratory so that it does not mix with the solution. So we will just dip this glass rod in the solution, and then we will move it out from the solution. We will wave it for a while, and when it will be cool, if the crystals forms on the edges of the glass rod, that means the crystals are forming and we have to stop the heat. Then we will take out this from the heat and we will allow it to stand for a while, and we have to allow it to cool at the room temperature. Then we will leave it undisturbed for a day or a night, and then in the next morning when you will come to the school, to the laboratory, you will find that the pure crystals of copper sulfate are formed, and there will be some impurities left behind in the solution. So it separates the copper sulfate crystals from the solution, but we can separate those copper sulfate crystals on a filter paper. Again, we will that bowl or that china dish will have some crystals of copper sulfate the next morning, and with a little water. So we will extract those in a paper, in a filter paper, so that the filter paper will absorb the liquid or the solution, which is, it will be a little amount though, so we will separate out the liquid and the crystals will be dried up. So when the hot solution of copper sulfate is cooled down, we can get the crystals of pure copper sulfate. So this process of crystallization, this is a process of crystallization which is used to purify a very large number of water soluble solids. For example, the common salt obtained from the sea water is an impure substance having many impurities in it. So the common salt is purified by the process of crystallization. Now the impure sample of alum means fitkari. So if we have an impure sample of alum, we can also purify it with the same process called as crystallization. So crystallization is a better technique than evaporation. We can also perform evaporation, but in the evaporation, the solid impurities are not removed by the process. So those impurities gets removed by crystallization. And also sometimes when we evaporate, it causes dryness. In the case of some solids like sugar, it decomposes and gets charred, like it gets reddish in color and it gets dry due to evaporation. So evaporation is not very useful method in every cases. So when evaporation does not help, we can use a technique called as crystallization. So here are the applications also. That is, this crystallization is used in the purification of salt that we get from the seawater, and it is also used to separate the crystals of pure alum from the impure samples. I hope both the topics today, that is chromatography and crystallization, is clear to you people. So in the next lecture, we're going to take distillation. So for the meanwhile, please study and please go through your book so that you can ask the queries which you have and do the question answers which I'm going to give you along with this lecture, so you can understand it properly. And if you have any problem, any doubt, you can ask me. Feel free to ask me anything. Till then, please take care of yourself and read and study your books. Thank you.